Elena couldn't answer, because the truth was already coming, and nothing in this room would survive it. The machine stopped blinking. 1 second of silence, then the truth detonated across the room. And in that silence, a man who ruled nations forgot how to stand. The DNA machine made a soft mechanical sound, a final click, not dramatic, not loud, worse, certain. A technician didn't even need to look twice at the screen before his hand hesitated in midair. That hesitation was enough. Because in rooms like this, hesitation is confession. Elena saw it first. The result. Her vision did blur, it sharpened painfully, like reality refusing to soften impact. Match confirmed. Her knees nearly gave way, but she didn't fall. She couldn't, because Mira was holding her hand. And children feel everything adults try to hide. Across the hall, the boss didn't move. Not at first. It was as if his body had not yet received the message his eyes had already processed. Then, slowly, his fingers curled. Once, twice, like something inside him was trying to restart. The room around him became distant noise. Politicians, guards, whispering elites, all irrelevant. Only the screen mattered. Only the word mattered. Match. Something deep inside his expression fractured, but did not break outwardly. Men like him don't break in public. They collapse internally and rebuild into something worse. Elena finally spoke, voice trembling but firm. She is mine. A pause, then correction. She was mine. Her eyes lifted toward him, not fear anymore. Only exhaustion sharpened into truth. You don't get to decide what that makes you. The room reacted instantly. Gasps, movement, phones discreetly lowered. A truth spoken in a place built on lies always sounds like violence. Mira looked between them, confused, not afraid, just trying to understand a world that suddenly stopped making sense. "Mommy," she whispered, "why is he looking at me like that?" Elena knelt quickly, holding her shoulders. "Don't look at him." But Mira already had, and the boss had not looked away. For the first time, he stepped forward fully into the light. The chandeliers caught his face differently now. Not powerful, not feared, human. And that was more unsettling than anything he had ever been before. His voice came low, controlled. Her medical file. One of his men hesitated. "Sir," now, no shouting, no anger, just certainty that obedience was no longer optional. A tablet was handed over. He read. At first, no reaction. Then a flicker. Then stillness that carried weight. Elena saw it immediately. Something had landed inside him that could not be denied. His jaw tightened slightly. "Late-stage cardiac failure risk," he read quietly. A pause, then softer. Months. That word didn't belong in a room like this. It didn't belong in any room where children exist. Elena stood quickly, panic breaking through control. "No, those reports are outdated." But even as she said it, she knew the truth was worse. The boss looked up at her slowly. For the first time, his voice changed. Not authority, not dominance. Something closer to disbelief. She is dying. It wasn't a question. It was a collapse of logic. Myra tugged Elena's sleeve again. Mommy, am I sick like the hospital says? Elena's throat locked. She couldn't answer, because lies were no longer protection, only delay. The boss took another step closer. Security instinctively moved, but stopped when he raised one hand slightly. Not command, instinct. Something inside him refusing interference. I can fix this, he said suddenly. The words hit the room like a second shockwave. A billionaire, a power broker, a man who made governments shift, offering salvation like it was currency. Elena shook her head immediately. No, a beat. I don't want your money. Silence. That sentence unsettled more people than the DNA result ever could, because money is the language of his world, and she just refused to speak it. The boss's eyes narrowed slightly. You don't understand what I can give her. Elena's voice broke, but not her resolve. I understand exactly what you are. A pause. Her gaze hardened. And I understand what you were. The air tightened. Even the guards shifted uncomfortably. This was no longer a confrontation of power. It was a confrontation of history. For a brief moment, the boss looked lost. Not externally, internally. A man used to controlling outcomes suddenly facing something he cannot command. Myra watched him carefully, then softly said, Are you my daddy? The word landed differently this time. No shock, only weight, and something inside him finally cracked open just enough to let memory breathe. Flash. A hospital corridor 10 years ago. Rain hitting glass like broken rhythm. A woman screaming his name. A choice he never made fully conscious. The memory tried to surface, but he forced it down violently. His breath tightened. For the first time, control failed in private. Elena saw it, and it strengthened her. You see it now, she said quietly. You can't undo it with money. A pause, then sharper. You can't undo it with power. She stepped closer, not afraid anymore. You didn't lose her because you didn't know. Her voice dropped. You lost her because you didn't care enough to stay. That sentence hit harder than any weapon ever could. Silence swallowed the room again. The boss didn't respond immediately. When he did, his voice was lower than before, almost fractured. I didn't know she existed. Elena laughed once. Empty. Exactly. That single word became a wall between them. Not anger, not accusation. Finality. A guard suddenly approached with urgency. Sir, we've identified the family members involved in falsifying records 10 years ago. The boss didn't look away from Elena. Bring them. The word was quiet, but absolute. Elena's eyes widened slightly. No, all heads turned again. Even Myra looked up. The boss paused, then slowly turned his gaze toward her. Why? Elena's voice shook, but held. Because this isn't about punishment, a breath. It's about her. She placed a hand on Myra's head. She doesn't need your empire-fixing things. Her eyes locked onto his. She needs peace. For a moment, something unrecognizable passed through his expression. Not anger, not dominance. Confusion, bordering on something dangerously close to regret. Then he spoke quietly. I have a right. Elena stepped closer. No, a pause. You lost that 10 years ago. The words hung in the air, heavy, unanswered. The boss did not reply. For the first time in his life, he had no counter, no command, no outcome, only silence. And in that silence, Myra yawned softly, leaning into Elena's arm, as if the entire world wasn't collapsing around her identity. Behind them, the DNA screen still glowed. Match confirmed. But now it meant something more dangerous than truth. It meant consequence. And consequence, in his world, always demands repayment. The boss finally spoke again, but not to Elena, to his men. Prepare everything. A pause, then colder. We are not done. And Elena realized in that moment he was not trying to take control. He was trying to reclaim something he believed had been stolen from him, even if it meant destroying everything around it.